Hey everybody, it's Jasmine Love from Rhythm and Praise and Enjoying Your Faith Ministries. Welcome to the Jasmine Love Podcast. When we were overwhelmed by sins, you forgave our transgressions. Blessed are those you choose to bring near and live in your courts. That's from Psalm 65. And when I tell you this scripture has been feeding my soul in this season, girl, I can't wait to get into it. You're tuned into the Jasmine Love Podcast. And if it's your first time here, this is where we take a pause away from the demands of life, the many hats that we wear. We take a break from being wifey, from being mommy, employee, sister, all the things, right? To pour into our woman within. It's where we come together for honest conversations, some biblical encouragement, and real life reflection. So that scripture that I just talked about was Psalm 65 for my thumpers who got their Bible out. It is verses 3-4. It says, when we were overwhelmed by sins, you forgave us. You forgave our transgressions. Blessed are those you choose to bring near to live in your courts. I recently shared with you all that my high school classmate passed away from a drug overdose. And my comments after this, let me be clear, it's not to say, oh, God chose me over her, or God didn't choose her, or no pedestal-like energy, none of that. All I'm saying is that it opened my eyes and reminded me of God's faithfulness. She and I were not friends, but small town, so we grew up together essentially. And I just started to think like, God, what did I do so different? Because I made a lot of dumb choices and I put myself in a lot of stupid situations. And at any moment, I too could have become addicted to drugs. At any moment, I too could have started going in and out of jail. At any moment, I too could have died because of the choices that I made and the things that I subscribe to. And I think we all, if we're going to be real, we all have those stories. And when we look back, it's like, child, I know nobody but God got me through that. It ain't nothing but God's grace that protected me through that. And it's easy to dwell on the things of the past, right? On what could have happened years ago. But I'm talking about even moments right now, today, saved, going to church, doing ministry work, all the things. Even still, we are just moments away. We are all, right? Just a single choice away, a situation happening away before things can really start to look different. I mean, just the other day, I almost popped up. You know how you have the moments where it's like, am I going to pray or am I pop off? I think back to when just a few years ago when I was dealing with postpartum depression and all the things I started to do to cope and to escape the different feelings that I was having of depression and unworthiness. And when I did not feel like reading my Bible, everything else that was feeding my flesh felt better. Yeah, we are never so far away from life looking different, from life looking dark, and from a single choice sending us down a spiral to get back out of. And that's a lot of times why ladies these days, when they start having those depressing thoughts, I don't want anyone to dismiss what they're feeling because that's real, right? And we have to address what's going on. But it's always like, girl, you got a day or two, but you got to get up out of that thing. You got to shake that thing because the deeper it gets, the longer you sit in that despair, ain't no telling what the enemy could trick you into doing. So that's what this episode really is all about. It's stories of God's grace. It's about his redeeming power and his restoring power and how he literally looks past all of our faults. And even while we are actively living out things that are not of him, he still guards us and protected us because we had already been chosen. So even when we weren't choosing him, he was choosing us. So we are going to spend the next hour or so talking about redemption. When I started thinking about this topic, the perfect person came to mind. It has to be nobody but God to bring her to mind. Many of us know her from her radio and media career, and many of us had known that she had been to prison, but I don't think any of us, unless you read her story, realize how powerful her testimony is. Beasy Baybie will be joining us after the break to talk about her book, Convicted, and we will talk about her journey of life. I'm just gonna put it like this. Look, sis went from watching the BET Awards from her prison cell to just a few years later being at the BET Awards hosting the red carpet. Don't go anywhere. It's the Jasmine Love Podcast. We are on the Forecast Media Podcast Network.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines. Plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-917-1386. 800-917-1386. 800-917-1386. That's 800-917-1386.
All right, ladies, so let's get into it. You are tuned into the Jasmine Love Podcast, and we are joined by a radio powerhouse. A lot of you know her. She's an award-winning radio personality. We've seen her hosting the red carpet at the BET Awards. She's been featured in TV segments on Fox 5 Atlanta, now holding things down on weeknights on Magic 107.5 in Atlanta, an author. I can go on and on. Ladies, let's welcome Beasy Baybie to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you. That was a nice introduction.
Listen, because it seems like life is treating you well these days.
Um, God is good every day. I think
Yeah.
that every season comes with its own struggles. So, no matter what the
Yeah.
highlight reel looks like, there's always some stuff going on in the background, child. But I'm grateful.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. I want to take a moment to give you your flowers. Because you were actually one of my biggest inspirations when I was studying broadcasting in college.
Oh,
So, no, for real, when you were in Columbia, I
hmm
was at Winthrop University in Rock Hill. And so you know, some people on air, and it's like, okay, what she do to get on air? But there were some women who it was like, no, she has the voice, she has the style, like she has the delivery, the quick punches. And I was like, yeah, Beasy Baybie, she is that girl. So I want to thank you. Even learning more about your journey is like, oh my God, she powered through all of that. But I wanted to thank you and give you your flowers for being an inspiration for girls like me.
oh, that means a lot because I have girls that I look up to still today.
Yeah,
So it means a lot that there's somebody out there that is, appreciating what I bring to the industry as well.
yeah,
And
for
whoever's
sure.
listening, I don't normally sound this bad, child. It's allergy season. I just want to declare I'm not always Jadakiss sounding, but yeah. But thank
The
you, girl. I
radio, no,
appreciate
for
it.
sure. Because radio is cutthroat. It's male
It
dominated.
can be.
Yeah, it takes skin that was thicker than I had when I was that young. And
Um,
so yeah. But you've always, it seems like you've held your own. Like, how were you able to navigate being a woman in such a male dominated industry?
I think that's kind of the story of my life. I think
Yeah.
that no matter where I was, or what I was doing, I was always in an area that was, mostly male or male
Mm-hmm.
dominated. So that doesn't feel unique to me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it does feel like, sometimes you have to, I don't want to say prove, but sometimes you have to show that, although my gender is different,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just as bossy as you,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and I deserve to be in this space. But I've always encountered, oddly enough, really, really nice guys. Like I don't have a lot of horror stories when it comes
Yeah.
to men in the industry. I have one, but one out of like hundreds, thousands.
Right.
There are just really good guys in this field, and they've done a lot to help me along the way. So I haven't had a problem being a woman in a male-dominated industry. It's been good to me.
Yeah, I appreciate that perspective. Um, and I'm also interested in, as a radio veteran today, like what is your approach when it comes to the ladies coming into the radio game now? Because I experience like two different types of women in radio, and I guess this can go in any industry, honestly,
Hmm.
because there were the ones who were embraced you and helped guide you, like, okay, girl, you're gonna go sit in the corner, or you're gonna come into the studio and work on your craft so they can't have
Hmm.
nothing to say. But then there were some like, girl, you got to figure that out. I got my own battles. I want that spot too. Like we ain't friends. So,
Yeah.
do you intentionally like try to pour into the newbies in the game, or how do you determine like who you embrace?
Well, I think for me, it's not just an industry thing. Like in
Yeah.
life in general, I try to show up kind. You know, I just
Okay.
I try to be nice and but also not overpowering because you really don't know what people want. So
Hmm.
showing up in a space and, a new girl, quote unquote, coming to the station and you popping up in her space and saying, "Hey, I can show you this, I can show you that." That can be a little abrasive for some people. So my
Yeah.
posture is more I lead with love, right? Like I'm just here. I'm welcome. If you need anything, here's me type thing. And then I think along the way, you kind of feel out who people are and what they
Mhm.
may or may not need. And then you find your space that way because it can, like you said, people have different experiences in the industry. So you have
Mhm.
to be careful how you present yourself to women coming into the industry because there's not a lot of trust there.
Mhm.
So I like to just, if I show up every day as love and you feel like you can trust me and that I have genuine motives and I'm one of the people in the building that, just show you goodness every day, then you're going to feel like when you want more or when you have questions or if there's something I can do, you'll feel comfortable asking. And when they do, I answer, or if I
Mhm.
see I'm not one to shy away from, girl, you are killing it, or I listened last night and you sound good. Like that's my
Mhm.
vibe too. So I just, I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm a girl's girl because I'm not. I'm not
Mhm.
supporting just all the girls. I'm not supporting just all the guys. I am
Yeah.
here. I'm showing up in spaces with love. And if you have that same energy, we gonna make moves.
Yeah. It's interesting though, like the light and the love and the joy that you carry, because I read the book. I like did a quick download yesterday and I spent all day yesterday reading the book. But here's why though. So busy, I went to prepare for the interview. I was like, oh shoot, I need to send her, some questions. I knew you had it, but it was just like, courtesy. Let me let her know the direction that we're going in. And I looked at the synopsis, was like, oh, she's an author. And then I saw some of the comments and I said, I gotta read this. Like, it seems like a lot here because I knew you had been to prison. You talk about that on social media. Um,
Mhm.
I have heard that part of your story, but I had no idea of the depth of what your life looked like leading into your time in prison. Like, your story is
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, it's been a life. We all
Yeah,
I think we all have first of all, we all have stories, right?
yeah.
And we all have things that maybe we don't want to relive or were heavy for us. And, I tell my daughters all the time, like capacity is a real thing. And I don't know why God thought I had the capacity I had to get through all that, but evidently I did. Um, but I don't think that my story is any heavier or harder than anyone else's. I think that
Mm,
God gave me what I needed to become who I am and to do what He has for me to do out here. And although it wasn't fun all the time, and sometimes I felt like I wasn't going to make it through, if I
mhm,
had to do it all over again, to show somebody what Christ looked like, I'd do it
mhm.
daily, just
Wow.
because
Yeah.
what's the reason for being here if it's not that?
You witness your mother from, a young age. You witness your mom go through domestic violence. You ran away at a point. You went to juvie. You became a teen mom. You experienced homelessness, street life, heavy, betrayal, prison. And I read the story, and it's like so many moments. You were literally one moment away from death, it seems like. I know that you rest in the goodness of God today, but do sometimes you look back at it and is it kind of like surreal to see where you are today versus how things started off?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that I don't think I'll ever get used to, I mean, for lack of better words, the goodness of God. Like
Hmm.
I don't think I can ever get used to how amazing God has been for me, even when I didn't acknowledge him. You know,
Hmm.
that I didn't always believe. Um, but even when I didn't believe and even when I um was detrimental to myself, he was always there. And you're right. There have been times that I've sat and literally thought, Jesus, like I could have died dozens, hundreds of times. Like not just saying I could have died, but no, sis,
Yeah.
you were right there.
Yeah.
And just he continued to bring me through every time. And so that's actually now, that can be depressing too, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna act like that's always been a glorifiable moment. Sometimes that has been devastating because it can, if you're not careful, make you think that death is always right there, or
Mm,
that something is chasing you, you know,
mm,
spiritually through this world, and that you're always under attack. But the truth is, both things are true, right? I think
right.
the enemy is always on your heels, but I think that God is always your front, back, and all sides. So, yeah, it can sometimes feel a little heavy, but
Hmm.
it also is, no matter what I face in this world, when I think about how much God has brought me through, it's a reminder that I have purpose here. So even when I don't know what's happening or I feel like I'm at the end of my rope, I know that God is waiting with an extension somewhere, right?
Where do you believe the spiral really began?
Oh God, I don't know. Maybe in the womb.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I think
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I think my mom's situation when she was pregnant with me wasn't ideal. Um, and I think that when we're kids, our parents' decisions, affect what our lives look like. And my mom had her own trauma, and my dad had his story. So I think I was kind of born into a space that I don't know if it gave me a good foundation, or
Hmm.
anything really stable to build on. But I will say, even in that, my mom always put us on a church bus. Like if a bus came around to pick up kids for vacation Bible school, we were on it. She didn't go, but she would send us. And we just felt like, we were being sent to get out of the house, or
Hmm.
whatever that looked like. A lot of times I only wanted to go because they gave us Skittles when we got on the bus. But now at my big age, I realized that those were seeds being planted. And
Yeah.
even though my mother didn't go to church because her father was a pastor and that's her own story to tell, right?
Hmm.
But she had her own walk with God, but she made sure that she sent us so that we knew him. And even though my life never looked like those seeds were planted for probably the first 3 decades of it, um, I do have to honor the fact that even in her battles, even in her struggles, even in the times where she was fighting for her own life, that she did the best she could to make sure
Mm.
we had something to hold on to throughout all of that. So, although I do think my trauma started really early, I also think, the foundation that I have now in Christ did as well.
Hmm. Those seeds are that's real and that's true. Even when you don't think that it's seeping into your children. I have two little ones now. And so it's, finding that balance of teaching them and about prayer and who God is and how that works without scaring them or making them feel like, oh, if I'm bad, God is going to do something to me. It's just that balance. I'm a PK. My dad's a pastor, and I had
Hmm.
my rebellious phase too. But at the end
Hmm.
of the day, the seeds were planted. I think I came
Right.
out all right.
Yeah, I think you did good. And I mean, that's all you got, like as
Right.
a parent now, your kids are little, right?
Yeah.
But as your kids get older, you're going to come to points in your life where you pick up the phone and call your parents and say, listen, sorry and thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of stuff we just don't see. Number one, we don't see our parents as people until we
Right.
become parents.
That's
And
real. That's
then we're
true.
like, wait a minute. My mom was my mom, but she was also this person with a name and a story and pain and emotion and,
Mm-hmm.
things. But I do think that, I mean, I think you do your best. I think as long as you show your kids Christ and they become familiar with who he is, listen, that's the best preparation for this world you can give them because
Right.
everything else is going to change.
You wrote about even from a young age, even into adulthood, going into like these dark spaces mentally, where you would experience suicidal thoughts and you got involved in a lot of risky behavior. There was one line, I wish I had it, and you were like, what did you say? Something about how courageous you were. You was like, I carried the guns, I was a hustler, something like that. You had to become tough because of the life you were living, and you just had like this courageous. I remember it was one point where you said something. I was like, girl, have you not had enough? Like, I think someone was pointing a gun at you, and you were like, I dare you to shoot me, or something like that.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like, yeah, looking back at that, and even the spiral moment you had, where you was like speeding really fast and almost hit an 18 wheeler. Like, do you feel like there was a part of you that just didn't care if you lived or died?
Girl, yes. I just didn't have the courage to do it myself.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that I I want to be careful how I say it because I want to
Mm,
honor that space because it's important. I think that I was exposed to so much trauma in my life that I never healed from. And, childhood trauma, teenage trauma, and then young adult trauma, that stuff doesn't go anywhere. Like it's not like there's a trauma bucket with a small hole in the bottom, and over time it just leaks out. No, no, no. You're just packing on. So I never got therapy. I never talked about it. I just packed it up. So I don't think I ever truly learned to love myself or anyone else. And I don't think I ever really learned how to feel it. So I think I was just navigating the world kind of numb. And I didn't feel like I had purpose here. I didn't feel like it mattered if I was here or gone. And it was just hard to understand, why no one, why I felt, because I don't want to say no one loved me, because a lot of people loved me, but I couldn't feel it. And I didn't love myself, so I didn't make choices that looked like I cared about me.
mm,
And I didn't have a relationship with Christ. So until I met, honored, and gave in to my relationship with Him, it was hard to understand what love was and open the door for it anywhere else. So I absolutely don't think I know. I was wilding out, just
mm.
hoping, almost hoping that something would happen to me because it's not like I was doing it on purpose. I wasn't going out looking for death, but I didn't care if my decisions brought it to me either. Yeah, I
Do,
think that's I could say.
yeah, there was a point where you started dabbling in the drug game a bit, and I think you had to leave out of whatever home you were in. You called your mom, and she was like, "No, like I'm not helping you this time." She gave you some options, but she didn't, in a sense, like rescue you. But in the meantime, it's like the streets was offering you money, belonging, relationships, and it's almost like that turned into your family.
Hmm.
Do you feel like the streets raised you in a sense?
I think that um, because I don't want anyone to misinterpret the role my mother played. I think my mom did her best, right?
Yeah.
I think that I think we are all um, given tools, and our 100% looks different. And I think
Mm.
my mom gave her 100% to raising me and my siblings. I think her capacity and my behavior
Mm-hmm.
clashed.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and I think that at that moment when I was calling her, asking to move back home, her decision was right.
Mm-hmm.
If she had said yes, and first of all, let's rewind.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to um, this even happening, I had already had drugs in her home. I was already selling drugs out of her house. My stepfather and her, they had already saw me kind of going into the wall and taking money and drugs out. So I was already disturbing her home. And I had little brothers there. So if she had let me move back home, that wouldn't have changed the rest of my life. It would have
Yeah.
just dragged her and my brothers into it. So the best thing she could do for me was let me go ahead down the path that I was intending to go down anyway and protect my little brothers from whatever trauma my choice of lifestyle would have exposed them to.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean but they definitely became my family. Like I
Yeah.
definitely, even still to this day, that those are they're family members. We don't live the same lives anymore, but that's
Mm-hmm.
my family. At that point that we were all we had
Yeah.
in our mind, right? I'm sure we all had family that would have loved for us to turn our lives around and to help us get that together. But at that point, where we were with what we knew, we were all we had.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk a little bit about the first time you sat in the prison cell, and you said that you was reading all 39 charges against you. Attempted first-degree murder, aggravated assault, burglary, conspiracy, a whole list of things. Your bail was at $100,000, and you knew you were facing some serious time. But here's what caught me off guard, Beasy, because I thought that was going to be the turning point. But that
Girl, me
still wasn't
too.
your breaking point.
No.
That wasn't it.
Listen, girl, I was a damn fool. Forgive the cuss word,
You
saints, but I was a
fine.
damn fool. You would think that, even me right now, listening to you and thinking about that, I'm like, girl, like,
Hmm.
it don't make sense. But and I think it's because so twofold. I'm gonna say God's grace, and then I'm gonna also say, like have you ever been in a space where maybe either God has been so good to you or you've just had a lucky strike, but when you make these mistakes, they don't hit you as hard as they should. And
Yeah.
so you kind of slide through. I think I had done so much sliding and God had given me so much grace that I don't think I really believed how real this situation was yet.
Mm.
And although I was in jail, um, there was no finality on it, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
I had gotten charged. I was sitting in a prison cell, months. I was in there about 2 months, I guess, or a month and a half. I forget at that point, but waiting on bail. Nobody had bail money. I, I'm not sure why that didn't wake me up. But if I had to guess, I think it's because when I got back out, I was still going to court. Like nothing said, you're guilty, you're going away, you're going to
Hmm.
lose everything. Like I had not hit rock bottom, and rock bottom that's just different for everyone. And that wasn't my rock bottom yet.
Mm.
Honestly, I don't even know if I can explain it because it sounds so stupid to be sitting in jail facing that amount of time and go back home and repeat crime.
Yeah.
But, I really can't explain it. All I can say is that I hadn't hit rock bottom yet. And
Hmm.
until I lost everything, it didn't wake me up. And I feel like because there was a turning point for me, and I think there is for everyone. Um, but I don't think that the world gets to decide it, right? I think
Correct.
that God knows what it's going to take for you to learn your lesson and to start, anew. And that just wasn't it. And I don't know
Hmm.
why, girl, because being in there with all them women and sitting in that
Hmm.
cell and going to the bathroom in front of somebody and that food, I don't know why that didn't hit, but
Right.
it sure didn't.
Right. Can we talk a little bit about your love and relationships during this time too? Because you always kept a boyfriend. There was always someone there. It was
So,
like, because it's like I liked bad guys too, but after a few close calls for me, I knew I could look. I knew I was not cut out for jail, so I'm like, all right, leave us alone.
well,
But
I think what's unique for me is I was
yeah,
bad.
right.
So I think it's different when it's a good girl and she's
Mm,
dating a bad guy. I I didn't feel like I qualified for for anybody else because I am out here living the worst possible life ever. So, who am
yeah.
I to think, that somebody that really values life is going to want to sleep with me at night?
But
So,
yeah. But even like besides being in the game together, like the run-ins with the police and all of that, you talk about that in the book, but you also experience some very dangerous situations in your relationships, like that almost killed you. The one
yeah.
boyfriend we talked about it earlier pulled a gun on you, asked if you were cheating, and then you said, and then we went on about our day like it was nothing. I was like, what?
Girl, and did. And
Yeah,
a couple months later, he shot at me while I was walking down the street, and I just kept walking down
wild.
the street like that was nothing. Like all of these things, as a mother and a grown woman now, I look at that version of me and just think, baby, were you there?
Hmm.
Like what did you think you were living in a movie or what? But the stuff just didn't phase me like it should have. And I think
Hmm.
that all goes back to, again, my mental health, being able to love myself, being able to understand what love felt like or what good love feels like so that I
Hmm.
wasn't confusing toxicity or threats or go ahead, I'll kick your door down, girl. He loved me. He threatened to kick my
You
door down.
love me.
Like what? Excuse
Yeah.
me? Um, but I just think it goes back to my mentality.
Yeah.
Like I think that when a person is thinking in the way that I was thinking, you can't make anything else make sense. Like it doesn't
Hmm.
matter what you say or what you do. There has to be a maturing mentally, spiritually, and emotionally that a person gets to where, the former things just don't feel like they used to. What's
Hmm.
that Bible verse that talks about it? Thought as a child, spoke as a child, but kind of now that I'm not a child, I put away all childish things. And I
Yeah.
think that that was it. Like I just think that I needed to heal. That's
Yeah.
it. I needed some
Yeah.
therapy. I needed some anger management classes. I needed to really break apart all of the baggage that I had packed away and, cemented. I needed to chisel that and really begin to unpack it and focus on getting better so that my decisions looked better. And I
Hmm.
mean, I was picking the same guy in a different body over and
Correct.
over and
Yeah.
over again. Yeah, but nothing about me was changing, so that makes sense.
Mm. And today you're married.
Yes, girl, he good too.
Yes. How did you, and you spoke a little bit about it just now, but tell us a little bit more about the spaces of you that had to unheal, I mean, to heal and things that had to unlearn for you to receive healthy love. For you to even recognize healthy love.
Well, I mean, I think, girl, that's like a decade-long journey. So
Yeah,
I think
we need another book. Is that what it's given?
I don't know. Maybe we'll see. But I think that jail was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
Hmm.
Um, it gave me time to sit down and be still. It was quiet. I didn't have distractions like drugs, alcohol, sex, nothing. It was just me and that cell kind of getting familiar with who I am.
Hmm.
So I think that happened. That was very sobering. And then while in jail, there's a lot of treatment. Now, whether you choose to partake, but
Right.
I did. I wanted to come out of jail better than I went in. So I went to the groups and actually participated. Um, the first time in my life, I actually took advantage of counseling. I had been given therapy options before. I just never engaged. I would sit there for whatever the time was and not speak. Um, so I actually gave therapy a try, came home, did more anger management classes. Girl, I had about a year. of different anger management classes. So I know that that helped. It helped me to be able to control my temper and my responses to things. Um, and then even after all of the prison related mandated grouping was over, I went to church. I began a relationship with a church and was just in the middle of a transition, trying to grow in my relationship with Christ. And so I
Hmm.
asked for some therapy through the church too, and went through about a year or two of therapy there as well. So I think that by the time I met my husband,
Yeah.
I had, I don't think you ever heal. I think healing is continual. But I think that I had unpacked some former versions of me and, begin to talk to them and go ahead and release them, so that
Yeah.
I could grow into just a better version, someone who was able to trust, someone that was worthy of trust, someone who didn't think that peace was boring, because that's
Mm.
a real thing. When you're
Wow.
used to toxicity, when it's quiet and it's peaceful and there's no arguing, that can feel boring to someone that doesn't know what love should feel like. And you can go looking for that excitement and that dopamine hit and that adrenaline rush that comes with the breakup makeup cycle, that those toxic relationships bring. So I'm so grateful just for all of the therapy and all of the prayer and the relationship that God and I built, where I began to understand just how much God loved me.
Hmm.
And once I once I understood how God loved me, even in the times I didn't know He was there,
Ooh.
it allowed me to see my mother different and to see her love different. Um, Other family and friends that I thought didn't love me. It just lifted my relationship with Christ, lifted a veil that allowed
Wow.
me to look at people through different lenses and provided some healing that allowed me to grow to the best version of myself emotionally. So that when my husband arrived, I would see him the way that God wanted me to see him, uh, um, apart from whatever trauma and life experience had exposed me to. But
It's just crazy how God's grace and mercy covers us, even when we are out of alignment, even when we are opting into a lifestyle outside of His will. He loves us that much to still protect us in our wrongdoing. And I know like a lot of some of the things that you felt in your gut and experience while you were living a certain lifestyle. Some may call it street smarts. I feel like it was still God's discernment inside of you. Like, because you were making some wise decisions. Not all the best decisions, granted, but God was still like giving you those gut feelings here and there that protected you even in the midst.
hmm my kid's father still talks about it sometimes to this day to our daughter, who's 25 now. But we'll talk about how we would be in the streets, and this is so crazy, but I would like see a penny and it like a penny would roll. Like we would be walking down the street and somewhere, somehow a penny would roll. And I would just say, I think we should go home. I feel like somebody's gonna die.
Wow.
Literally, and the first time it happened, he was we thought maybe this is crazy, but then a friend of ours actually died that night, right? So then the next time, not related to a penny, but we're walking into a club and um it just felt like you say discernment, like it just felt like a energy shifted, kind of on me as I was walking into the club. And I said to my kid's father, this don't feel good. I think we should go home. And we turned around, and before we even got to the car, shots rang out. So
Jesus.
just I do know, and I had no relationship with Christ. I didn't even know if God existed at this time. But there was that we call intuition or gut feeling, that existed back then that now I recognize as a gift, that God has given me to be able to feel energy and to be able to discern spaces and people and things, that are good or bad for me. But yet God was there the whole time. I had a vision one time during therapy, and I was, literally discussing one of the situations I encountered as a kid that I felt the most alone and unloved. And I literally said to the therapist, "Where was God then?"
Mm.
And her response was to show me how God got me out of that space and to show me how, even though that space happened, because, and this is the conflict when it comes to people that are early in their walk with Christ or people
Mhm.
that don't have a relationship with Christ. It is hard to understand how God can allow such bad things to happen. And for people who have been exposed to pain and trauma at an elevated, height, I think they feel like he can't love me or, he can't exist, one of the two. Because if he does, or if he did love me, why that then, right? And it wasn't until I was going through those spiritual, counseling sessions that I realized bad things happen because people have free will. And free will exposed me to some things as a kid that I shouldn't have been exposed to. But God still comes in, cleans up the mess,
Mhm.
and makes good of even that. And he did every time. No matter what situation we talk about today, I literally can cover it with God's grace.
Yeah.
I can bring in the good, to cross out any bad that has ever happened in my life. And if we're honest with ourselves, we all can, right? But it takes time to get there.
Mm. I it made me start to think about the time. I call it a purging season. I don't know how you look at it, but there was the time when I believe you had moved to Charlotte and things started shifting for you spiritually. Like you said, you had rededicated your life to Christ, started fasting and praying, but you also, in the chapter Dreams and Nightmares, started having these intense dreams, like seeing demonic manifestations and things like that. To me, it sounds like purging and spiritual warfare. Like knowing what you know now, because I don't want to label it based off of what I think. How do you look at what was happening during that time where you started seeing those things manifest in your home?
So I think it was a multitude of things. I think you're right. I most definitely believe it was spiritual warfare.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that I was leaning into Christ in a way that I had never before.
Yep.
And God was creating in me somebody that would do a great work for him in this world. And at Charlotte was kind of the fork in the road, I'll say, because I
Mm-hmm.
had left my old life behind and I had yet walked into my new life, right? So Charlotte was the place where I was literally dying to self. And in that, I was being exposed to, I mean, I was not sleeping at night. I would go to sleep and wake up to literally feeling, and those who know, but
Mm-hmm.
it would feel like if I opened my eyes, I was going to see the face of the devil. And I could feel it, I didn't see it, but I could feel it and I knew it was there. Um, and there were, of course, other things that are in the book that I've seen that where I don't care what nobody say. I know what I saw. I got pictures
Right.
of
Right.
things, like it's real, as real as God is. The enemy
Mm-hmm.
is real as well.
Mm-hmm.
um, and those things happen. But I think that the enemy knew, uh-oh. I
Yeah.
done had her all this time. She done
Mm-hmm.
been on my side. She done been playing this game with me. He has used me to
Time
be the
over.
detriment of other people. Um, and I think that he knew that Charlotte, like, oh, she's really letting it all go. She's really releasing everything that I have sent to be attached to her to drag her down. She's giving God everything and she trusts him. Like
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte was a place where I literally said, God had told me to release some things and I let him go, not knowing if I would be able to survive after that or raise my children. Like I was letting go of financial sources and just things I never imagined I would do. And if people would have told me I would do them, I would have told them they were crazy, and so was I if I do it, right? But
Yeah.
I think that Charlotte was I don't know how better to put it than there was a funeral in Charlotte.
Mm, mm,
And the old me literally died there. And
mhm.
with that, relationships that I had for decades ended. I mean, nobody's fault. They just ended, and it was sometimes it would be crazy. And why are we not talking over that? Like we'd have survived so much stuff. Why would that be the thing that stops us from talking? And it wasn't because anybody was bad. It was because God was saying, no, 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 I need you in this alone.
Yeah.
I need you to go through everything that you're going to go through right now. I need it to just be me and you. And um, I came out of Charlotte really feeling like I don't need nothing and nobody as long as I got Christ. And that has been such Charlotte and all of the horrible things that Charlotte exposed me to. If I didn't have those things and I hadn't gone through those moments, I wouldn't be able to release anything. Like today, sitting here talking to you, anything could go. If God, whatever God tells me to do, I'm on that. Like it don't matter what it is. Hey, pack up
Mhm.
the house, leave it all. Let somebody else move in. I need you to get in a truck and just travel the world through Nebraska. I would
Mhm.
say, God, for real, I don't want to go to Nebraska, but I'm gonna be in Nebraska. Just
Yeah.
because I feel like I know God enough now because of Charlotte and everything that season exposed me to know with 100% certainty that if he sends me somewhere, he got me there.
Yeah.
And that there's nothing in this world that is too hard for me because I'm in him.
My God.
So yeah.
Total surrender. A life fully surrendered. I love that for you because it's a tough thing. It's tough to get there because even now I have my moments like I'm gonna need you to tell me again because that sounds crazy. But I think you mentioned something and you were like, I don't want to be disobedient to God. Like I'm not interested in figuring out or finding out what would happen if I don't say yes, if I get
No,
out of
no.
alignment. Like, no, I'm good.
Well, and I mean, because it goes, we talked a couple minutes ago about the time that the guy pulled the gun on me and I went up to the gun and, told him to shoot me. Like, that's crazy. Um, but as crazy as I was back then and all the other things that I did during that season, I feel how intentional is that? Like God knew
Right.
that I was crazy. So he also knew that that same craziness that applied to the streets and the hustling and the drugs and all the other things I did, that I was going to have that same craziness attached to my
About
faith.
him. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that, as bold as I was to say, kill me, I don't care. That's the same boldness I had in Charlotte with the enemy when I said there's nothing you could do to me that God don't allow. And
Mm.
even now to say, God, whatever you're on, I'm on. I mean that because, like, how bad can it get?
Hmm.
Like I don't feel, man. I say to God all the time, God, show me how good it could get. Show me your best because I've seen, the worst parts of this world, but I know that the best parts of this world are found in you, and I'm in you. So show
Wow.
me how good it can get. And I think with that, it just, from crazy, in the streets to crazy faith. I just feel
Yeah.
like I'm really at a point now where I can't you can't lose when you're in alignment with Christ, no matter what it looks like. Even if the season starts off rocky, even if some of the, worldly things expire, even if you look like you don't know what you're doing, man, God not only makes it make sense in the end, but he makes believers out of non-believers. So that's what I'm on.
Yeah. Do you ever experience survivor's remorse? You mentioned a lot of people that were close to you that you lost along the way. And you also just mentioned some friendships that have fizzled out. Being who you are today, do you ever, I don't want to say guilt, but survivor's remorse is the correct term. Like, do you experience that?
Today, no, but I have for a very long time. I did, I used to wonder, well, why'd you let me live? all these people passed away, and why am I still here?
Mm-hmm.
Or excuse me, or people incarcerated. Like I really, that was favor and a blessing that I was able to do the time I did and come home on parole and walk that off and really get a second chance at life because some people don't have that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yes, I most definitely had survivor's remorse, and I think that there were seasons of my life that I did not celebrate my wins because I felt guilty for having them.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think sometimes, suppressing seasons where God, would have gotten the glory and I
Mm-hmm.
could have really felt happy about where I was, that I didn't feel happy because I felt bad for having it. So I think that's real. Today, I don't think I have survivor's remorse anymore. I think that um, I more feel now that the longer I live and the better I do, and the more that I honor Christ with my walk, I also honor those who didn't get to.
Yeah.
Um, people that I've lost along the way, I still at random will post stories about them. Their names are in books. I on their birthdays, I might share a picture. So I feel like I still can,
Mm-hmm.
expose the world to who they were through my life. But then I also get to honor them by doing it different. And I feel like those that I lost that love me would want that. I feel like they're cheering me on from, the other side of heaven. Um, and would be more proud of me living my life like this than sulking away in a corner of darkness
Mm-hmm.
because they went home earlier.
Mm. And I know I have to wrap this up soon, so I'll be asking you questions forever. But you had mentioned the season of forgiveness that you went through. You said Mr. Osborne highlighted how forgiveness was healing, and I wanted that. I wanted to forgive those who had hurt me, and I wanted to be forgiven. I want to ask you a little bit about that. I know you had reconciled with your father during that time, and you also wrote about forgiving the father of your child after he did some crazy work. Um, who do you think, and not comparing the two, this question is in general, who was one of the hardest people that you had to forgive?
The hardest person I had to forgive was me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that trumps everything else if I'm honest. And was the took the longest. Um, I think forgiving my dad or my mom or my child's father, um, I think those things were easier because I could address whatever the issue was,
Yeah.
give it to them, give it to
And
God,
move
and let
on.
it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when it came to forgiving me,
You had to
I had
sit
to
with that.
live with that.
Mm-hmm.
I still, for the rest of my life, I have to wake up to results from my decisions. And no matter how much, you change your life or, excuse me, clean things up, there is still residuals. Like
Yeah.
there are still things that are there, um, as a result of things that I have done. So I mean, that has taken literally maybe just within the last 2 or 3 years, that I've really been able to release the guilt that I carried for friends, my community, my parents, my children, and my children, that was the hardest to
Yeah.
unpack. But yeah, I was the hardest person to forgive.
Well, you have since returned to prison, but this time to do ministry work. Can you tell us a little bit about, what that feels like or what it was like walking back into that environment as who you are today?
Um, Scary.
Yeah.
I think, I do public speaking. and motivational speaking a lot of places. And there's always a little bit of nerves, right before you come out because, for me, it is, I know God is trusting me with someone's ear, spirit, and I'm pouring into people. So I always get a little anxious. I feel like I've been hired by God and I got to make sure he looks good. So that is its own thing. But going back to the same prison I was in, that was, girl, I almost was sick. Like literally, I was physically sick.
Wow.
My husband had to pull over at the gas station because
Oh,
I needed a minute to actually be physically sick before
yeah.
going to the prison. Because it was so many different things. It was, okay, I got to go in here and make sure I'm delivering this word the way that God wants me to deliver it. I got to face women who are in a space that I was once in, and because I am an energy grabber, I guess, or conduit, I'm gonna feel all these women's energy. So I'm preparing for
Mm.
that. But then, girl, how are you gonna feel? Because
True.
going through the gate, that's nothing because I never went through that gate before, not as a visitor. I never went through it at all. That's not a gate that inmates go through, right?
Hmm.
So I didn't think that would be an issue. But then coming through the gate and walking the same pathways
Ooh.
that I walked with those Browns on, and two by two because you couldn't be, you couldn't be in groups and just all the things. I didn't know what to expect. And so I think I was in my head because I was so fearful of like, girl, don't get here and cut up. Don't get in here and start crying. Don't, get in here and not be able to do what God sent you here to do because your feelings are getting in the way.
Hmm.
Um, so it was hard, girl. That was hard. I say
Yeah.
one of the hardest things I've ever done is quitting cigarettes, but I think Muncie got it trumped. Um,
Yeah.
but what I was able to, um, what I did in that space is something that my husband tells me all the time to stay in my moments. Because
Mm.
when we're on vacation, I am thinking about what I have to do when I get home, right? So, excuse me. I can sometimes lose the vacation worried about everything else. So he'll remind me, hey, right now
Be
all we have is
present.
this moment. Stay in this moment.
Yeah.
So when I was walking around the prison, I was in those moments. How do you feel right now? What are you smelling? What are you feeling? Let's go ahead and identify the emotion so you
Hmm.
can get past that emotion and focus on what you have to do. Um, and I mean, it was very hard, but also I'm just grateful, man. God is just so good. I can't
Yeah.
say that enough because that was something that I needed as well. Um, to just remind myself, girl, that was 17 years ago, and your life doesn't look like it looked when you walked in here, and you aren't even the person that walked in here. And outside of what it gave me, um, just being able to be trusted to go back
Mm.
into there by the prison, by the chaplain, and then to be able to be received by those women to where 200 plus women gave their lives to Christ that day.
Oh my God.
The same prison that I made a promise to Christ in. And this is the part for me that just lets me know, like, God, you're planning. Like, who am I to think my little planning book is something? Because the way that God got this thing,
You could not orchestrate that.
I
Like,
couldn't, I could not have written that in the best book. It would have never appeared in the best film. Like, who knew that
wow.
me getting on my knees in a cell when I didn't even believe in Christ? And I said to him, God, if you let me go home and get a little house, I don't care where it's at, put my kids under one roof, a car, and a job, I will tell everybody about you. I said that to him, not knowing if he was real. And then 17 years later, I'm walking into that prison honoring my promise is still mind blowing to me.
Mm. Girl, I got chills. Like that is, we know God has a sense of humor. We know God is intentional in everything that he does, but you just don't hear about experiences like this often, or to really have those full circle moments. So I am so proud of you. I'm proud of your determination, your tenacity, and also tapping in. Like you said, I was committed to the streets. I had big, bold faith in myself that I couldn't be harmed, and now I'm putting that in my savior. I'm putting that in the one who proved himself to me in all things. So I'm really proud of you. I honor your surrender, and I look forward to seeing what God continues to do through your gifts and through your ministry, Beasy. For the woman who's listening right now, who sees herself somewhere in your story and she feels like there is no victory for her, or that she can't win again. She's still in a trauma, doesn't know how to come out of those choices that she's making. What would you pour into her? How would you encourage her to remind her of the goodness of God, and that there is still freedom for her and choice for her?
I would say she doesn't even have to, I think sometimes that people, you don't have to have sold drugs or carried
Yeah.
guns or gone through any of the trauma I've gone through, or, Jasmine, even your story. Like, we all have a story, and we all have those things that we need to let go of so that we can freely walk in, the grace, mercy, and glory of God. And I think that the first thing to do is probably really um to get to know who God is. Really, really begin to study God. And He gives us His word so that we can become more familiar with Him. Um, if the Bible is, a little too much to dive into at first, just begin the conversations with Him. And
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be like my husband, he'll pray over dinner and he'll say, "Thank you, Lord, for these thy gifts." And we used to laugh, me and my kids, every time he would say, it, we'd be like, "These die, what the world?" Like, you know, but that his posture, he grew up in the church, and that's just the way that he talks to Christ. I talk to Christ just like this. Like, if I am frustrated, I'm angry, and I still talk to my Father. It is a relationship. And just like a relationship with a partner or a colleague or anybody else, you have to be intentional about that relationship with God. Um, and that is the key to unlocking everything else. I can give you, tools if you want to get into media. I can give you tools if you want to write a book. I can help you, figure out and orchestrate an outline of, steps 1 through 10, how to obtain certain life's goals. But when I tell you that the key to everything you want to do in this world, that means you any good, comes through your
Mm.
relationship with God. So I would just start having conversations with Him, set aside time for Him, the same way you set aside a date night for your relationship, or, want to spend more time with that person you love. You got to do the same thing. God wants that time with you too. So I would start there. Start with that relationship
Relationship.
with Christ. Yeah, be
Yep.
intentional about it, but also get some therapy. There are people, wealthy people more often, that include therapy in their financial budget. It's gym, it's rent, it's utilities, it's therapists, like it's a requirement. And they don't reserve it for when something's going wrong. They keep a therapist as a continual checkup on their mental health, like you do for
Hmm.
your physical health. So
Hmm.
build that relationship with Christ, get you some therapy, even if you don't have a thing that you can point to say, there's my
Yes.
trauma. You don't have
Yeah.
to have trauma. We
Hmm.
all have things we've been exposed to. Get you somewhere you can dump so you don't keep on dumping on yourself and other people.
Bleeding
And
on
then,
everybody around you. Yeah.
yeah, and then, you know, uh, through God and your therapist, you'll begin to see what you're carrying that needs to be let go. And then let go. Let go of, prior versions of yourself. Let go of guilt. Let go of grief. Let go of people that may be good people but aren't good for you. And let go of expired things, in seasons, because you can't get whatever you're after if you're still holding on like hell to everything you've already had. There's not enough
Mhm.
room for it all. So something has to go.
Beasy, please let everybody know how they can get in contact with you, follow you on social and anything like that.
So I am at Beasy Baby everywhere, BeasyBaybie. My website is beasybaby.com. Facebook, Instagram. I try to be on TikTok, but I don't really like
Girl,
TikTok. I think I just do it because people do
yeah.
it. But Facebook and Instagram is probably the heaviest. And my email is beasybabybusiness@gmail.com. So yeah, that's me. I got 3 books out. That first one I really just wrote for teens in group homes. So if you come across That Night I Died and order it and wonder why it's so short, that's why. Because it was for the babies. I just had to publish it in order to get it printed. But the daily devotional Jesus and Coffee is out, and the radio show is syndicated in 4 markets. So maybe by the time this comes out, it'll be 12 and then
Yes,
continue to
ma'am.
grow. I'm out here, guys, so hit me up. I
Yes,
usually respond back unless it gets weird, and then I just act like you're not there anymore.
girl. I appreciate you pouring out your transparency and encouraging the ladies who listen to the Jasmine Love podcast. Y'all don't go anywhere.
Transform your bathroom with the beautiful quality of Bath Planet. As a trusted leader in bathroom renovation, Bath Planet has earned the Good Housekeeping seal, a symbol of quality and consumer confidence for over 100 years. Get half off installation or 18 months with no interest and no payments. Whether it's tub replacement, a shower replacement, or a tub-to-shower conversion, Bath Planet makes your custom bath fast, easy, and affordable. Here's how it works. 1. Call to schedule your free, no-obligation consultation. 2. Our design experts come to you with real samples to customize your dream bath. 3. Our certified installers complete the transformation in as little as 1 day. And right now, for a limited time, you can upgrade your bathroom for 50% off installation or choose 18 months with no interest and no payments. But you need to call now. This special offer is only available by calling 800-778-8748. That's 800-778-8748. Call 800-778-8748 right now before the offer ends.
It's the Jasmine Love podcast. Thank y'all for staying through to the end. If you made it this far, you a real one, girl. But yo, don't you love Beasy Baby? Like, such a genuine soul and such a powerful testimony to God's goodness. I love the fact that she said, your story does not have to look like hers, right? Like, your trauma may look different, or maybe you can't even pinpoint your trauma. Maybe you didn't experience domestic violence. Maybe you didn't experience drugs and murder and things like that around you. Maybe your story is not going to look like mine. It's not going to look like hers, but it's your story. And in the midst of that, God has been working on your behalf to keep you here. That's why you're still here and still breathing. And so I want to encourage you to remember that there is room for you to win again. There is still victory waiting for you. There's still freedom and deliverance from God. That is your portion. You serve a God who turns pain into purpose. You serve a God who turns your sorrow into joy. And so wherever you are, no matter what choices you have made, know that the most important choice you can make, no matter what's happened in the past, no matter what happened this morning, today, last night, the most important choice you can make moving forward, because when you know better, you do better, is to choose God. Choose surrender. Choose that quality time with Him. Choose that intimacy with Him. When we began the episode, I started talking about Psalm 65, verses 3-4, and it says, when we were overwhelmed with sins, you forgave our transgressions. But my favorite part is, blessed are those you choose to bring near and live in your courts. We are filled with the good things of your holy house, of your holy temple. That word filled, it hits different because a lot of the choices we make are to fulfill things of the flesh. It's what we think will make us feel good. It's fulfilling. But a lot of times the feeling is fleeting. It's temporary because it's not fulfilling our souls or our spirits. It's fulfilling our flesh. And I love this scripture so much because it says he really looked past all of that. He forgave all of that and still chose us to come near to him and to dwell in his courts so that we can be fulfilled, in my words, with the good things of him. The good things of him, that peace that surpasses that peace that surpasses all understanding, that love and assurance, that joy, his grace. When you invite someone to come close to you, you're inviting them to get to know you, to experience intimate levels of you. And that's what God wants for us. That's the invitation that's always available for us. But we have to make that choice, right? To stop fulfilling the flesh and to start fulfilling our soul with the power of God. I want to lose weight, but I have to make that choice to stop snacking on them Chick-fil-A chips every night. I want to lose weight, but I have to make that choice to go to the gym subscription. What's it called? I just signed up for the place the other day. Only been 3 times. Child, look. But if I want to see that change, I have to make those choices. But the thing is, like I said earlier, the most important choice we can make is the choice to choose God in all things. We want that peace. We want that deliverance. We want that assurance. We want that breakthrough. We want that job. We want that love. We want all these things and don't realize that the choices we are making can either make or break what God is trying to do in our lives. When we choose him, it becomes clearer. When we choose him, it becomes protected. When we choose him, he's already chosen us. He's just waiting for us to choose him back in our everyday. And this doesn't go, oh my God, this doesn't only go for babes in Christ. I'm talking about us that been doing this for a while. We still have to make the right choices. God is waiting for us to choose him over the distractions, to choose him over the TV show, right? To choose fasting over overeating, to choose time in his presence over brunch. He's still waiting for us to make these choices. He's already chosen us. He's just waiting for us to choose him back. Thank y'all so much for tuning into the Jasmine Love Podcast. Listen, I would give you the social media, but I don't even think it matters at this point because I don't know how much longer I'm going to be on social media. I mean, it is Jasmine Love Ministries on Instagram and Facebook if you want to follow. But I feel like the best way to stay connected with this ministry and the things that we have coming up is to go to my website, JasmineLoveMinistries.com. and sign up for the newsletter. It's where I reach out monthly. Maybe a podcast update, may just be a quick devotional or something like that. But it is the best way because you can always just hit reply and we could chop it up like that. So JasmineLoveMinistries.com, definitely get locked in with the monthly newsletter. And I hope to connect with you there. Love you much, girl. Take care of yourself, all right?